Hey everybody, what's going on? It's PMOC at 86 Drive. And some of you who have been watching the channel for a while may have noticed that there hasn't been very much BRZ content lately. I've been taking my MR2 out to most of the car meets and events, and you may be wondering what's up with the BRZ. And the answer is that basically, having done all these track days in the summer last year, it's taken a toll on my BRZ, and I've had some bad luck with some of the components on the car. And so basically since last August, I haven't really been able to drive the car very much while I've been waiting for some repairs to get done and to replace some of the components on the car. So let's take a closer look at what's gone wrong with the car.
First up is the steering rack boot. This was something that we discovered actually back in June or so when we were under the car prepping it for the summer track days. The boot was torn and needed to be replaced. It wasn't super critical, but something that does happen on these cars commonly, according to my friend Neil at the Racers line. Thankfully, the steering rack is sealed, and the boot was something I could hold off and replace later when I had the car in for some other service items. The next thing that was going bad was the rear axle. I was noticing that if I rolled down the window and slowly accelerated from a stop, I would hear some clicking coming from the rear axle. This was gradually getting worse, and again I asked Neil about it. He said it was likely the axle going bad, something which is probably not surprising when you have a Jackson Racing supercharger installed and making about an extra 100 horsepower. And if you're going to the racetrack often, then these kinds of things will see some wear and tear. So he recommended replacing the axle as well. If you watched my last set of racing videos where we did the night race at Thunder Hill, you may recall that I had noticed a concerning puff of white smoke coming out of the exhaust a few times, and that was after my car had fuel starved and went into limp mode out on track. My exhaust was also making some rattling and popping noises that gave me the sense that it was giving up the ghost. So I felt some paranoia about the health of my engine and everything under the hood, so I figured I had better bring the car in to Neil's shop to have him take a look. So I took the car into Neil's shop, which used to be known as the Racers line, and is now merged with the other shop he acquired, Contra Costa Auto Service. And I handed the keys over to him and his staff there and said, please fix all the problems for me and check the car out to make sure I don't have any other problems. And I asked them to do the supercharger fluid service while they were at it. And yeah, the guys at Coco did a great job. Big thanks to Neil and the crew. And what Neil found was the oil catch cans were filled up with oil and needed to be emptied. I guess I need to check those more often. And that was causing the puffs of smoke, he said. As for the exhaust, he said the Greddy muffler was, in his words, internally separated and needed replacing. So it looks like I need a new muffler. It's breaking apart inside, and that's what is causing the popping and rattling noises. So for now, I had Neil put the OEM muffler back on the car. Do you have any suggestions for a new muffler? I do really like how the Greddy SP Elite muffler sounded in combination with the headers and the supercharger, so it's possible I might just want to get another one just like it. I definitely prefer a quieter exhaust. I think a lot of the other louder exhaust choices will sound terrible when combined with the other parts I have on it now. Now let's talk about the suspension. And this has been one of the biggest headaches to deal with, and it's actually driving me nuts. I had sent my Tane coilovers back to Tane USA down in Southern Cal over the winter of 2021 to get them rebuilt and revalved for a softer spring rate, and had them reinstalled for the 2022 season. I did a couple of videos about the rebuild and how great they felt after getting them rebuilt with a more dailyable ride comfort setting. But during the mid-season, when we got under the car, we noticed that there seemed to be a bunch of grease leaking out from under the front struts and collecting on the lower control arm. My friend Kevin, who also has a set of the same coilovers and also sent his set in for a rebuild at the same time that I did, was also experiencing a similar problem. But after talking with Neil and the guys at CSG, we all thought that maybe it was just a little excess grease from the reassembly process coming out, and maybe it wasn't an issue. But as I did a few more track days, it was noticeably more and more grease piling up on the LCA. So I reached out to CSG and Tane, and they wanted to take a look at it to see if there might have been something that went wrong during the rebuild or reassembly process. So it's been quite frustrating that I had to take these front struts back off and send it back, but I did want to get to the bottom of what might be wrong here. It just sucks that I've spent a considerable amount of money already on getting this suspension sent out to get rebuilt and then reinstalled and an alignment after that. But then I had to get it taken off again and shipped back to Tane, and they took another look at it. And that took another couple of months to happen. And what they found was that the front dampers failed and blew all the grease out through a weep hole in the bottom. It seems they aren't exactly sure what the cause was, but perhaps the result of using too much assembly lubrication. So they re-inspected everything, reassembled the components, and used a slightly thicker grease but less of it, and said hopefully that solves the problem. So the car was down for a few months while I was waiting for all that to happen. But in December, they finished reassembling them, they shipped it back to me, and I got them reinstalled and got another alignment. That was back in December of 2022. And for a while there, I was quite happy with how things came out. As I said in my earlier videos, with the revalved dampers and softer springs, the car felt great, handled great, wasn't too uncomfortable to drive on a daily basis. But about a month later, I started hearing a loud rattling or clunking noise coming from under the car.
So bad. Yeah, but hopefully that gives you a sense of how bad this rattling sound is. So, you know, there's definitely something wrong with the suspension here. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to send it back to Tane again for them to rebuild it a third time.
It's the Tane coilovers again. Now it appears that something is broken or loose within the damper. And I am incredibly frustrated that this is happening again, that something is wrong with the damper. That means I've got to take the front suspension off the car now for the third time and send it back to Tane for the third time to have them inspect it and see what is wrong. Maybe it's an issue with how they reassembled it. Maybe there's a component in it that has failed. I don't really know. They claim to have tested it thoroughly before sending it back to me, but here we are with yet another failure. I just don't even know what to say about it at this point. I don't know if I can trust Tane or their dampers anymore. But I've reached out to my friends David and Mike at CSG, and they are working with Tane once more to look at this issue. I'm going to have to take the front suspension off the car, swap it back to the OEM struts again, and ship this defective damper back to them for another reinspection. So, this is getting real expensive, isn't it? The grand total of repairs at Neil's shop was over $1,600. Ouch. And we're not even done. I still need a few more things. A new muffler, or maybe get the old one repaired if that is even possible. I probably need new tires, which is going to be expensive too when the time comes. And most importantly, I need to get this suspension issue sorted out. And even if I do the installation myself, I'm going to need another alignment afterwards. I'm honestly mad that I've lost so much time to this. The car is basically parked while I wait for this to get sorted out, and I can't do track days, can't even take it out on drives until I get this suspension stuff worked out. It's a little bit depressing, which is why I haven't talked about the BRZ much lately. And I'm just glad that I have the MR2 that I can take out and drive around to enjoy and bring to meets. I'm really hoping that we're going to see the light at the end of this dark tunnel. If I can get these things taken care of, then I can go back to enjoying my drives in the BRZ and heading back out to the racetrack with my friends. What do you guys think about all of this? Should I have just sold the BRZ at this point? Sold off the parts that I could and got myself into a new second-gen GR86 or BRZ? Or should I persevere and keep this thing as one of my forever cars? I really hope it's all worthwhile. I mean, I think it is, because it's more than just the car. It's about the friendships and relationships that this car has helped me form. I want to get back out there and rejoin the community that is so fantastic, that is built around this car, and enjoy the driving that gives me so much pleasure. In the end, it's about how this car makes me feel.
Well, that's the update for now. Please follow the channel, and hopefully I'll be able to provide more updates soon about what's happening with the car. And I really hope to be able to see some of you out there at the car meets, the drives, and at the racetrack very, very soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.